What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Heads Up Advisor here on another Thursday night. What are you thankful for? When's the last time you stopped and talked about what you're thankful for? What do you say, Craig? Welcome to the show.
It is the season, man. Thanksgiving is next week. So, of course, we will be enjoying it with friends and family. So, this week, it seemed appropriate for everybody to take a breath and to think about how they can focus on having an attitude of gratitude, because this is the time of the year and we all have things that we should be grateful for. Maybe it's, your financial production. How about your family? How about your spouse? How about your kids? How about your church? How about your donations? How about your, physical health? How about your mental health? Those are all things that we got to stop, pause, take a breath, and say, man, things could be a lot worse.
That ain't that right? Especially with the COVID situation, a lot of people hurting, businesses, things like that. We've done okay in our business. Maybe we didn't grow as much as we wanted to, but we still had the business, had the recurring revenue. So be thankful for that. A friend of mine got me into doing a gratitude hour every day. I set it at 10:30. Alarm goes off. Say 3 things you're thankful for. Right? Keeps you reminding you how lucky you are. We're talking
Does it
about.
take you an hour to think of them?
Very quick. It's tough to think of new. You try to think of new ones each time you do it. You can't just use the same ones over and over, right? Health, your loved ones, so on and so forth. But you try to do that and
You
remind
realize
yourself.
how difficult it can be, right? Because we're sort of hardwired to find out what's the problem, what's not working, what isn't working, what sucks, what could be better, right? And that becomes a habit of seeing the world through that lens, a habit worth breaking. So that exercise you're doing, John, is great because it forces you to think in a different way, and your brain isn't naturally wired to think that way.
No, it is not. Hey, if you're watching in, let us know what you're thankful for. Going to Thanksgiving here next week. Let us know. Hey, look, good year, bad year. Celebrate those wins either way. I always said is whether it's a single or not, celebrate it. I've always believed in celebrating the wins, no matter how big they were, because you work so damn hard to get accounts that I
Yeah.
think you got to celebrate regardless of the size. That being said, we're also going to bring on a buddy of mine, talk a little bit about, give you a little insight on crypto in a few minutes. We'll 7-figure entrepreneur doing crypto trading since 2017. We'll bring him on in a minute or two.
Got
But
in
yeah, I
early.
mean, I think what's
I
that?
think you made a good point, man. You got to celebrate all the wins, big wins, small wins. It's the entrepreneur's curse to say, I expected that sale, so I don't really celebrate it, and I'm on to the next one, right? Always in pursuit of the hunt. And, that's a bad habit to get into because you gotta figure out your brain is wired so that actually if you set it up so that every time I do something positive that generates revenue, I reward myself, the brain looks forward to that dopamine hit. And so that's how to hack your brain
Absolutely.
because it loves
Um,
dopamine.
oh yeah, it wants to dope. I mean, I always when I first started was look, I went out, I go to the and have a beer at 3 in the afternoon if I close an account because look, it's a tough business and things accounts are hard to come by, regardless of how good you are. It's still a grind, so you got to celebrate them when you win them. Um, what else do you want to talk about today? We could talk a little bit about you'd mentioned earlier clearing your mind and negativity over the break here. We're going to be taking a break from the show here from doing for about a month or so. We're going to run some reruns of some past popular episodes for you guys, but resetting, clearing your mind, whether you had a good year, bad year. Craig, you've been doing this. How many years do you want to admit to? 30 years, 40 years?
Yeah, 30 years.
So
So
you've had the ups and downs. You've lost.
oh
I've seen
yeah.
you lose six-figure accounts, six-figure accounts from sales of companies. Which, oh, by the way, I lost 10% of my clients. I lost this year to
Wow.
the sales for private equity, and the pressure of the capital gains tax going up, so on and so forth. How do you deal with? Because there's some guys on here listening. Maybe they didn't have that good of a fourth quarter. Maybe they lost business.
Yeah.
Right? They lost their biggest account. It got sold. I lost my favorite account last week. right?
Yeah,
My
because the
biggest
guy wanted to
scapegoat,
retire, right?
my
He's a,
best, yeah.
yeah. What are you
You
gonna
know,
do?
how do you get over that and reset and start the engines back up when you got to rebuild?
I look at it this way. It's like you've got to break the rear view mirror of your life. Get rid of the damn thing. Stop focusing on the past and looking backwards because it doesn't do much for you, right? Immediately after something happens, you do a little after action review, you check it out, you see what you did wrong, what you did right, what mistakes you won't make again, and you throw it in the trash and you flush it. It's like Tom Brady. The man throws an interception, he doesn't carry it with him the rest of the game. Done. Let it go. I'm looking forward. So it's all about looking forward. And too many guys and gals, they don't have the habit of looking forward. What am I going to do next year? How many, what kind of marketing do I need to do? What's the lifetime value of a customer? How do I know how much I can afford to spend on marketing if I don't know the LTV of a new client? And if I do, then what's the highest and best use? What's the highest function? What's the highest velocity of money activity that I can do? What's the best way to market, telemarket, direct market, email, 3D mailers, whatever that is. And you just, you turn it into a math equation. You go, okay, I'm going to need, 10 appointments a month that are face to face. And in order to do that, I've got to do this much volume and activity. And that's going to result in 2 sales a month. I know you guys are awesome. You close 8 out of 10. Yeah, sure. You can't sell your wife on 8 out of 10 things that you'd like. Okay. So don't tell me you sell strangers 8 out of 10 times. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I remember shout out to Todd Hudson. Todd's out there grinding, having fun. I remember talking to him earlier in the year, and the marketing had, hired some marketing things like that. They weren't coming to fruition, but he's on the Friday calls every week, and he talked about, look, I know it's good to hear other people that that it's working. I know it's just a matter of time till my works. Fast forward last week, I think I talked to him personally on a private call. He's excited as it can be. He's got more opportunities he knows what to do with. He's just absolutely
Yeah.
excited and going to crush it. And
Most excited he's been in the business in years.
yeah, he's just super excited about it. And like you said, I think it's a math. If there's negativity in your head, just go back to it. This is very simple math, guys. If you're looking to grow your block, you need to get a certain amount of appointments, right? I got a guy in the office right here, Sean, unbelievable, books 40 appointments a month, right? What could you do with 40 appointments a month? The question is, are you willing to pay to get 40 appointments a month to realize what it's going to earn you in the future? Most
Yeah.
advisors look at a sticker of market and they go, ooh, that's an expense of X a year, not realizing, well, I closed one account, I offset that, I got free marketing for the rest of my life. Right. And so go
Yeah.
back to the way you started it. Right. And figure out, okay, I just need to go to a certain amount of appointments. If I suck and close at 5%, right, I need to get this amount of appointments on this average case size to earn this amount of revenue. If I do that for the next 36 months, I'll be sitting at this. Because you only go one way in this business, right, Craig? Up or down. There's no middle. There's no
Yeah.
staying flat. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
I saw it this year on the retail that I don't really grow anymore. And it went down because I lost 10% of my clients to sales, uncontrollable, right?
Yeah. And you can't, part of the reason like a lot of people will get angry is because they're under the illusion or delusion that they can control what happens. And you can't. We've had guys, people, they sell their company. They want to take money off the table. They've been doing it 20, 30, 40 years. That's their right. And when they go, most of the time, the new client doesn't give you the time of day. You're just summarily replaced. That's number one. Don't think you can control it. It doesn't matter what you did, how long you did it, how great you were. The new guy doesn't care. Number two, don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with
Craig's
you.
my therapist when I lose accounts. I call Craig up and I go, lost his account. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You know
let
how
it
many
go. There's
accounts
nothing
I
you can
lost
do.
in 30 years? Come on, brother. Yeah.
Well, when you're
Yeah.
newer in the business, you got to go through that phase. You're in the growth phase, and you never
Yeah.
really lose accounts. And I'm dealing with it now. I'm like, whoa, this isn't comfortable. This isn't fun. But the only answer to it is more cowbell, grow the business. That being said, I think
Yeah.
we need to bring on our special guest because he's
Yeah. The
very
next thing, the
important
next
here.
best thing to growing your book is to grow your financial net worth.
Yeah, so
So
let's
we're
talk about
grateful
that for a
for
second. We talked
crypto.
about it. Yeah, we talked about it on a little bit on some shows. And look, guys, as you grow your book, right? Somebody asked me the other day for my posts in crypto, is like, are you selling insurance anymore? I'm like, because of a couple of posts, you think I'm not selling insurance? That's my active income. But when you build a block and then you invest all your money back in the business, at some point it becomes enough where you got money on the side, something to do with it, and you want to get that money to work for you. And that is the funnest money ever. Had a good year on investments, and it's man, is it addicting. That's the easiest money ever made. Cryptocurrency, very confusing. People don't know about it. Extremely new, and man, is it exciting. It is exciting, but it's it goes up, it goes down as fast as it goes up. But let's I want to bring my buddy on, Matt Arrington. Matt is from my mastermind, seven-figure entrepreneur, seven-figure earner in cryptocurrency, runs a private group on cryptocurrency with several hundred people in it, following what he's doing. Wanted to bring him on and give us a little insight on the space. I think we'll have him on again to talk about crypto more in depth and simplify it. I think it's very important for people to learn more about it. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. But with that being said, let's bring him to the show. Bring him in here. Matt, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey.
So those that don't know, Matt interviewed probably the most popular person in cryptocurrency, a guy named Michael Saylor of MicroStrategies. Look him up on
Anywhere.
YouTube, Michael Saylor. Got a chance to interview him. That's pretty cool, incredible. And owns how many Bitcoin, Matt?
They're the largest private holder of Bitcoin. They're fastly approaching 1 million. So
wow,
yeah, and pretty impressive.
And so, talk to me about the interview yesterday, because I want to hear what he had to say in the what's going on with the economy, the inflation, versus what Bitcoin's doing, things like that. Tell me what he talked about regarding inflation, because right now it's just you're seeing the lies in the media that it's 6% and it's not a big deal. What do you have to say?
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, he kind of told a little about how he had, MicroStrategy. They had $500 million, and he said, I see the writing on the wall. I see what's happening right now. The government's printing money just left and right. Right now, I mean, he said that the current inflation rate is about 15%, and that Bitcoin, after research and study, was going to be the best store of value for him and for his clients. And so they went all in on Bitcoin. I want to say that they've surpassed like 57 billion, so turning 500 million into 57 billion, and they're just continually exploring, this crypto space and what it's going to do for their clients as a store of value. And as we do move from kind of like an old analog cash-based system to more of a digital online internet 3.0 system. So it's going to be, really exciting to see what happens. And just gleaning some insight from him was really great. He did talk about how inflation really kind of just affects every facet of our life, right? And used the position of like, hey, once we get Bitcoin or these other cryptocurrencies that are going to be really efficient, we can transact a lot quicker, we can transact a lot cheaper, and we have access to more things worldwide once we kind of all adopt this system. And we're starting to see kind of like a budding sprout, right, of mass adoption occur worldwide. And so being and living in the space and running the group that I do, I mean, I do probably upwards of about 4 hours of research a day, and I'm consistently seeing new things come out. For example, El Salvador recently adopted Bitcoin as an actual currency for the country. So as you start to see things like that happen and you see this adoption occur, I just think it's really important to kind of be aware of where the greatest minds are at. And in my opinion, in the next 5 years, you can quote me on this if you want, Michael Saylor will be the wealthiest man in the world, like on the planet. So as Bitcoin continues to gain in value, it's going to happen.
Let me put it a different way. Wake the hell up.
There you go.
It's going to change everything in the next 5 to 10 years. And if you miss this, if you missed Microsoft and you missed Dell and you missed Google and you missed Apple, don't miss this. Put some money in it because it's going to change everything.
Yeah, let's step back for a second. So cryptocurrency, we're going to in a second, but Bitcoin in itself, right? Bitcoin is very different from the cryptocurrency, and when you talk about coins, it's almost, just to put it in layman's terms, it's kind of like buying a stock for these companies, right? They're premature to even some of them being made, right? And
Correct.
Bitcoin is really this digital. Look at it like digital gold. Give me the breakdown of the 101, the easiest way to put Bitcoin in the way you can.
Sure.
What is it?
So in 2009, right after the first recession that we had here in the United States, uh, this anonymous individual came out with a code for a digital currency called Bitcoin. And you can look up the white paper and read all about the technical specifications of it and so forth. But really, what it is it's a digital store of value. So just like you might, really be interested in, hedging against cash or fiat, you would have maybe a brick of gold bullion in your safe. Now, it's really hard to transact with gold. But if you have something that has the potential to store value like gold does, but you can access it digitally, you can have a wallet on your phone and you can send Bitcoin to other people or to make transactions. That's really what it is. And so it's a digital way to save and be your own bank.
Yeah, and so this guy came out with a way to peer-to-peer transactions, okay, and decentralized, meaning the banks don't control it, the government doesn't control it. They can't print more of it. Now, my father, talking to my father about it, trying to get him to throw some money into it long term. And he's like, well, what the hell is it? What I said, look, it's digital. Look at it like digital gold. It's in cyberspace, locked in this safety deposit box, sitting in the deposit box, the Bitcoin. You got to unlock it with a key, just like with gold. And
let me guess, John. He said, son, you're a young man. You can afford to take risk. You can afford to lose money.
I can't take risk.
I can't afford to lose money and take risk, never realizing that that's what the government's counting on for you to interpret it that way, because leaving money in the bank where they pay you 0.1% interest rate while they use your money at 8 to 25% on credit cards in a world where inflation is published 6%, you're actually losing money leaving it in the bank where it's safe and you're not taking risk, and they count on that. So if you were a better salesman, John, you'd get your dad to put some money in Bitcoin.
I said to him, he said, no, I can't. Exactly what he said. I get long term. I'm going to retire soon. I'm 64, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you have X amount of money. You're not going to touch that back end money. So put the back end money and you can hold it for 10 years and you're going to live pretty damn good if you do that. But he said to me, well, what is it? Why is that a value? What value does it hold? I said, it's the value it holds is, I guess, the perception of the buyer and the transactor. It's just like, I'm like, well, what is the dollar?
What's the dollar
what is a
bill
piece
in
of
your
paper,
wallet?
right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is this?
Fiat.
He's like, well, it's backed by gold. I go, no, it's not. They took it off the gold standard in 1971. This is no longer backed by gold. It's a piece of paper that you view as a currency. Okay. And so you have this dollar that you carry around. But in reality, in today's world, we're already doing digital transaction because everything is, bill paid online. You're sending money to friends with Venmo. Guys, all you're doing, you're already transaction digitally with money that's sitting in a bank account, right? That is virtually a ledger. Okay. It's not paper. And we're flipping it to Bitcoin to have our own peer-to-peer currency that's not regulated or controlled by everything. Just read some of the books on the Federal Reserve. You'll see how corrupt they are. And they can't print more of it. Right, Matt? So talk to me, which I love about it is the scarcity of it. And as you see more and more of the Bitcoin being pulled off exchanges into cold storage, which we'll cover on our next topic, tell me about how he designed, what's his name? Satoshi Moto or something?
Yeah, Satoshi Nakamoto was kind of the author's name, right? The author of this blockchain. What's really cool, let me explain what blockchain is really quick, just to give a little bit of context. So blockchain is kind of like a ledger, right? You can go through and you can see all of these transactions that occur. And Bitcoin gets mined in these blocks. So just think of it as like a chronographic timeline, right? And each block could represent, let's say, like an hour. So if you said, hey, look, I transacted on November 18th at 5 o'clock, I can go back and I can look at that ledger and it will have my anonymous 26-digit or whatever Bitcoin address. so that I can know that that transaction occurred. And the blockchain verifies it, so you can't ever go back and say, well, that didn't happen, right? Like, you know, a lot of shady stuff can happen with cash and accounting and stuff nowadays. So it's private, but it's also anonymous, or it's also kind of visible as well. So the great thing that Bitcoin can do as well is, like the scarcity, right? So only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be minted. So if you can think of like, hey, there's only going to be 21 million, you know, reserve notes ever minted, those are going to be deflationary in value. So instead of losing power over time because of the scarcity effect, it's actually gaining quite a bit in its worth. So, for example, when I first started transacting with Bitcoin, it was about $555. And
Wow.
right now, I mean, we're, you know, close to 60K. So over time, and a lot of people too, let me just touch on this, because I know a lot of people are thinking like, well, what, you know, is it secure? Because there's a lot of stuff online that's not secure. Bitcoin, created in 2009, you better believe that people have tried to hack the crap out of it. And nobody has ever successfully been able to hack and break the Bitcoin and like steal any of it. So it's a very secure, it's standed the test of time. It was the first cryptocurrency ever invented. And so it really is the gold standard by which all other cryptos are kind of judged against right now in the industry.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a new currency, and it's going to be, you know, an international currency. You know, you think about banks, right? I was in Mexico. I was in Cabo in August. Great time. I ran out of money, right? Had to spent a little bit of money down. I had to go get cash. Well, go to the ATM. I had to pay the ATM fee. Then I had to pay, you know, the exchange fee. I think it was like,
Conversion. Yes. Yeah.
it was 15%, maybe 12, 15% to get money, to get my money,
Your
because
own
everybody's
money.
got a piece of the pie. So
Yeah.
what Bitcoin is doing is decentralizing it, taking out the middleman, the banks, the JP Morgans that controlled everything. And go back and watch the history of the men who built America. JP Morgan ended up being the most powerful, right? And so taking the control away from them being able to manipulate it, print more of it, and control it. So there's nobody can control this, right? There's no entity, nobody owns, I guess what, the ledger, the cyberspace of where it is, right?
Correct. And really the only way, because I've heard this a lot, people are like, well, what if, you know, like what would it take to get Bitcoin to get shut off or whatever? Turning off the internet. You think that's going to happen anytime soon? Not on your life. And guess what? As soon as the internet gets booted back up, the blockchain is going to start processing transactions and pick up right where it left off.
Yeah, I mean, you see the mass adoption now. You got 4%, guys. So again, this is not financial advice. That's a disclaimer. Look into it. Do your own research. But 4% adoption right now, it's still so early for you to start learning about it, to have upside. Don't think, oh, I missed out on it. Okay, because you haven't. The reality is, you know, it's from a long-term asset standpoint, from the scarcity, I think it's an unbelievable opportunity to have a bucket in there. You see most of the hedge funds and JP Morgan, all of them, they're putting 2-3% of the portfolio in there because they're being forced to by other people, right? But you're going to see that get bigger and bigger. I mean, talk about the hedge funds that you're seeing, what kind of money that they're putting into it. So if you want, you know, the guys that know what they're doing, the Michael Saylors and these other guys, talk about the money that they're putting into it.
Well, let's use Tesla as an example real quick. So Tesla used a small amount, I think only 5% of their corporate treasury. And within 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, had made more money than they had the entire previous year, just based on that small investment of their corporate treasury. And so do you think Tesla shareholders were happy? Absolutely. Their stock shot up. And then when Elon Musk just recently tweeted out, hey, what should I do with this, 10%? And everyone said, redistribute it as distributions among the shareholders. And he did that. The stock went back down, but that Bitcoin that they hold now is going to continue to hold and store value as they grow and be a great hedge against whatever may happen in the future, right? With the uncertainty in the stock market or with hyperinflation, if and when that occurs, they're going to be sitting in a much better spot than a lot of other people are. And so you see companies like, what really kind of helped to take this movement, this bull run that we're experiencing right now to the next level was PayPal. PayPal said, we are going to start, accepting cryptocurrency.
That was right
Primarily
after Heads Up Advisors, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so, they did that. And of course they own Venmo, and it just kind of started a little bit of a domino effect and forced all of these top, Fortune 500 companies to really start paying attention to what it is. And that saying, we need this a part of our portfolio. We need this and as an additional asset to what we may already own.
Yeah. I mean, look, these corporates, I think, what does Apple have? Like hundreds of billions in cash? What's happening to the cash? Getting burnt up? They're going to have to find a place to store it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put it in an asset. As I was trying to explain to my father is you just leave in the bank, you're losing money. If you at least have it in a property, real estate, some sort of asset that's at least going to hold its value. I mean, let's just forget about inflation. Let's just hold its value instead of losing 10 to 15% a year. People don't realize this. They go, well, my house, I bought it. House price went up in value. It's worth X amount of dollars. I bought it for half. Well, no, what's happened is the house price is not more money because the house went up in value. The house price costs more because the dollar is worth less. So it now costs me double dollars to build that same house that it did 15 years ago. Okay. So the dollar, what did they say? It's like 3 cents to what it was worth in the 1920s before the Great Depression. I think it's some crazy number. They've devalued it so much. And every time they just keep printing money, they printed 40% of all existing dollars out there, 40% of all money in supply, USD, they printed in the last, I think, 18 months, 40% of what was already out there. So what does that do to the currency? Well, it's not scarce anymore. It's just not going to hold as much value. People have more money. Now you could charge more. We were talking about the other day, inflation, the furniture store. Matt, we were looking at tables and chairs. Everything's like double. It's incredible.
It makes my Starbucks store not even be able to stay open past 2 p.m. because it can't get anybody to work.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a whole nother story. Matt, say you got a beginner on here. They know nothing about crypto. Where do they start looking? How do they start doing research?
Yeah, great question. So I would start just on Twitter, and I would just start with whatever basic question you have. YouTube is also. I would say that the latest, most up to speed information is coming out on crypto Twitter. But start out on maybe YouTube. Let me take a step back. Start out on YouTube. Just type in, because it's the second most widely used search engine in the world. Just type in basic questions. What is Bitcoin? And there will be a lot of great videos with infographics and for people like me, like whiteboard animation and stuff that will explain, what it is, how to go about buying it. Another thing that I get asked quite regularly is, well, if Bitcoin's $60,000, I don't have $60,000 to buy a Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin to start. You can literally start with $5 if you want, and you'll buy, 0.000026 of a Bitcoin or whatever. So don't be intimidated by whatever the price action is doing right now. Just get started and looking at it, consuming some information and understanding the basics, and then you'll feel a lot more comfortable at taking that first step forward, because it can be a little bit intimidating at first, especially people like me. I'm traditionally trained in I've got my graduate degree, I've got my MBA, I've got all that other stuff, right? 2 undergrad degrees. And so for me to kind of like think about Bitcoin, I was like, well, wait a second though, this wasn't what I learned in college. And that's kind of the point, right? It's a new wealth shift that is occurring right now that is going to be the biggest wealth transfer in the history of this planet. And everybody right now, I mean, how many people have you talked to who do know about Bitcoin and say, holy crap, I wish I would have invested when it was 5 cents? Yeah, I mean, all of us do, right? Sure. So the best time to have started was when it was created, in 2009. The second best time is right now. So don't be intimidated by it. Just slowly start going in. I recently read a report that said that the wealthiest individuals in the world are people who are going to own 0.01% of a Bitcoin or more. So if you can just set the goal of, hey, I just want to start to feel this out a little bit, it's really as simple as, downloading a wallet on your phone, and just putting a few bucks into it.
You made
dollar
some
cost
really
averaging it
good
in.
points, Matt. Let me point out to you. Look, for those of you watching this, next time you go to the gas station, go into the gas station place, right, where they're selling you the drinks and the bad hot dogs. The odds are pretty good. There's a freaking ATM Bitcoin machine in there. I see them everywhere. If you go to Vegas, they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So when he's telling you, there's 100 million Satoshi in one Bitcoin. So yeah, $5 you can invest. Don't be like John's dad, who still owns. If he thinks that the money, fiat currency in the United States is backed by gold, which changed in 71, he must still have the 1970 paperback Britannica set. Because they hadn't gone BK yet, because that's what everybody bought, because he's, it doesn't update in real time either. So he's dealing with old stuff. And then you fast forward 40 years to Matt going to college, and the vast majority of classes are completely outdated, outmoded, and basically useless for tomorrow's world. So you have to do this discovery and due diligence yourself. It's up to you.
Absolutely.
And it's all out there available for free.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you
then
could
when you get
pick it up
committed,
very.
you invest with guys like Matt, and you go, "Hey, man, I'm going to pay to be on your mastermind so that I need the inside scoop. I'm ready."
Yeah, that comes down the road. Do some research. I mean, I've watched more videos than I can count on crypto. I mean, look, we got this show to teach you. This industry is behind. We were one of the first to do the show and train, because it's cutthroat in this business and nobody shares. But other industries, it's not like that. The pros, the best that are out there in any specific industry, is putting it out for free, like we do on YouTube, and you can learn a whole ton. Hey, Frank Cohn, thanks for the kind words there. Somebody put silver certificates. Hey, whatever you're holding it in, it's better than cash. But yeah, from a long-term standpoint, again, not financial advice, dollar cost average it in, and set it and forget it, because the demand is going to continue to go up and the supply is going to continue to go down. I mean, right now, you look at money that they have what's on exchange, right? So picture it on a stock trading account, right? The Bitcoin, you can hold it on there to just buy and sell it. You can then also take it off, like you could take cash out of the bank and you could put it in your digital wallet. Okay. What was the number right now? What I think 89% of Bitcoin has moved off the exchange into a wallet. Only 11%, I believe the number is on the exchange. So what does that tell you? People are holding it, and there's no intentions of selling it anytime soon.
Diamond hands.
Yep, diamond hands. Yeah. What people are doing, and let me just explain that really quick. There's 3 different ways that you can store your Bitcoin. Number 1 is on an exchange. So just think of an exchange kind of like similar to like a website that's like a stock exchange, right? You can go put money in. You can either wire money, or you can use your debit card or your credit card. And you can say, hey, I want to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. So it will say, okay, here's your account. You now have $1,000 worth of Bitcoin on this exchange. That runs a little bit of a risk that, what if that exchange were to get hacked, for example. Now, we're not seeing that occur right now, hardly at all. Back when I started investing in 2016, and I was hearing horror stories from people in 2010 and all that other stuff, that was happening, that these exchanges where people were buying weren't secure. But now, because of the value of Bitcoin and because these exchanges are so big, let me use an example, crypto.com, okay? They just barely bought the license, or are leasing the old Staples Center in Los Angeles, where the Lakers and the Clippers play.
$700 million?
$700 million. It is the largest naming deal that has ever occurred in the history of this planet. For the next 20 years. Yeah, exactly. So for the next 20 years, it will be referred to as crypto.com arena, right? Or the crypto.com center. And so, these exchanges are very, very secure now. They put a lot of effort and energy into securing everybody's funds, because if it's not safe, they're not going to make money, because people won't transact on them. So that's the one method of holding that. If you want, like me, so I have 4 children, and I said, you know what my contribution to your future is going to be? 1 Bitcoin. So I bought Bitcoin at around $5,800, and I put them on a kind of it looks like a thumb drive, like a USB drive. And that's a cold wallet, okay? So what that means is it's offline. I can just transfer it from my exchange onto my USB drive, onto my cold wallet. And guess what? I can put that in my dresser, my sock drawer, whatever. And when I'm ready, I can give that to my kids and say, here you go.
That's like holding the cash. It's like holding cash, taking cash out of the bank and putting it into the safe. but you're doing
Absolutely.
it digitally.
Incredibly
to pay
secure
for it.
too.
Yes, and the cool thing about that too is like I can get that. Let's say that like I put it in my pants, right? And I ran that in the washing machine, and it just destroyed that wallet, that USB drive. Well, when you set up a wallet initially, it's going to give you a code, like a phrase, basically. And if that were to get damaged or whatever, or let's say that my phone goes in the drink too, I'm out deep sea fishing, which I do all the time, and I don't lose my Bitcoin. I just get a new wallet. I plug in my seed phrase or my code, and all of my money pops right back up. So way more secure than cash. In fact, John was with me. What was it, a few weeks ago? We were out to eat at actually a nice place in Las Vegas, and my truck got broken into, and my workout bag, my gym bag, and my backpack got stolen. Guess what? I always travel with cash in case something happens to my wallet, and they stole $3,200 of cash, and that's gone, right? Like I don't know where that went. But with Bitcoin and other crypto, I know that it's going to be secure, even if that wallet gets destroyed.
Hey, Matt, don't feel bad. I've known John long enough that not only can he lose his cash, he can lose his watch in one night.
Oh, low blow.
But that's a different story.
That's
It's
a
a
story
family
for
show.
another show. That's why I have insurance. Got to have insurance. All right. Well, look, we'll wrap it up here. We're getting a little long here. Matt, thanks for the insight. We're gonna definitely have you on, guys. Like I said, we're gonna take a little breather. Gonna do some Thanksgiving, some traveling, maybe, hopefully. Reset. We'll be back probably live more closer to January, and do your research on some other investments. We're going to have a lot of more guests on next year. We want to bring you stuff outside of just healthcare. That's why I had Matt come on. We've had taxes on, so on and so forth. And maybe we can even talk about blockchain and stuff like that on the healthcare industry. Will it enter the healthcare industry? I think it's inevitable.
Oh, dude, come on. We got NFTs and DAOs and shit coins. I mean, it's endless.
NFTs, guys. So digital art, right? Like this lion here could be on my phone, just a picture. Matt, how much are the Kongs going for? A digital picture of a digital monkey.
And guess what? It's 8-bit, like the old Nintendo system. Like it's not high resolution photo.
It's not a nice looking photo.
Yeah. They're going for around $900,000 right now a piece.
$900,000.
And I think they started out at
show off that I have this picture. It's a flex, right? So what is something worth? The perceived value, whatever somebody's willing to pay for. You see celebrities. Jordan Belfort just bought a $500,000 crypto punk. Post Malone just bought 2 Bored Apes for $800,000. Steph Curry, $1.2 million. It's the digital rights to one image picture. That's all it is. Look it up. That's another topic. Matt, thanks for joining us, guys. Be thankful. Be thankful next week. Things are good.
Yeah.
Things are only going to get better. Work your ass off. Turn it around. If it wasn't a good year, and there's more fun to come. Enjoy the rest of your fourth quarter. Keep it up. Matt, thanks again for joining us.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, Matt.
Happy Thanksgiving. All right, let me here we go.